Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm going to be sharing a book haul with you. I was able to get out to the bookshop today, the charity bookshop, my absolute favourite bookshop in the world, and get some books. I got 9 books to share with you guys. This is the first book haul in a really long time because obviously lockdown has just lifted here and it's been going on since Christmas. But even before Christmas, when the shops were open, I was actually in contact with someone who was COVID positive. I wasn't sick. I tested negative, but I did have to quarantine for 2 weeks just before Christmas. So it has at least been November since I went shopping, and probably even a month or two before that since I bought books. So this book haul has been a really long time coming, and the sale carts today were divine. Perfect. So I got 9 books. They were 50p each, which meant it was only £4.50 for all 9 books, and some of them were just, I was intrigued, I wanted to try them out, and some of them I'm really excited about. So I'm going to shut my big gob now and just get on with showing you guys the books. The first book is probably one of the ones that I just couldn't not buy. This is Bhagwan, the God That Failed, and it is written by Mull, who was a former bodyguard. Now, if you have watched Wild Wild World, something along those lines on Netflix, a documentary. This is about a cult in America. I believe it was in the 90s. It could have been in the 80s. Let's see if it says anything. Oh, 70s. It was in the 70s. Why did I have 90s in my head? And this was an Indian prophet who went to the States, set up a ranch, the usual cult things, and then it all kind of started falling apart. And if you watch the Netflix documentary, even if you're not interested in the topic, is a really well done documentary. They got people from inside the cult who had defected to interview and everything. It's really in-depth, and one of those ones you just cannot stop watching. So when I saw this, I guess unofficial autobiography almost, in the charity shop for 50p, I couldn't pass it up. It's the sort of thing that I'm not busting to read, but someday you're going to be in the mood even to start like just picking up and like read it over the course of a month, like a chapter here and a chapter there. So I just thought this would be really interesting, especially to see another side necessarily than the documentary posed, and I would actually rewatch probably the documentary after reading this and see how it all ties in together. My next buy was A Secret Diary of Adrian Mull, aged 13 3/4. I know this is like an absolute classic and I've never read it. I don't even know what it's about. So for 50p, I thought I had to pick it up. I know it's in the format of a teenager's diaries. I definitely believe this one is a 90s classic. Maybe not. Let's see if we can find a publication date. I'm sure you're loving just watching me like 80s, late 80s. It has a little birthday message on the inside, which I love finding on books. Unfortunately, this isn't dated. I love to find that as well. But I just know this is like a real classic. Loads of kids read it in school. It's quite popular, and I don't even know what it's about other than it's literally a teenager's diary. So I thought, why not have it in the shelves? And it seems like, obviously, because it's diary format, to be a pretty easy read. And just someday I'm going to be in the mood for this, and now I have it. The next one, the sticker on the front says £1, but it wasn't, it was 50p. This is a murder mystery, which I normally don't buy because I feel like when it comes to murder mysteries and thrillers, my library is chocked full of absolutely amazing ones. It's probably the biggest genre the library has, and if I'm ever in the mood for one of those things, I just go to the library and pick one up. So I don't typically buy them because they're so easy accessible through the library, or in nowadays when the libraries are still shut, through the Libby and Overdrive app and things like that. But this one intrigued me because it is set locally. So it is about a man on his deathbed in Derry/Londonderry, which is a city, I want to say less than 100 miles from me, maybe 80 miles or so. And it is, he's dying, his sister, his mum and all come to visit. They all have estranged relationships, and they're trying to like obviously reconcile over the fact that he's dying, but it somehow links in with a deaf and 8-year-old girl whose body was found on the shoreline of Loch Swilly, which again, these are all places that I know, so that is what really pulled me in. It's as guilt and memory beat against them as the shockwaves from the bombs of Derry, so it was obviously also set during the times of Troubles. So it was just, as I said, not necessarily something that I normally pick up, but it is the kind of book that I sometimes get into the mood for, and and I have a local one at hand. So that'll be interesting to read and just fun because I'll know the places that they're referring to and stuff. The next is The Red House by Mark Haddon. This is the author of The Dog in the Nighttime, and I got this book out of the library once because it sounded really, really interesting, but for whatever reason I ended up taking it back to the library before I got around to it, whether I just didn't read all the books and thought I would take them all back, or whether I was in the middle of a big series and didn't want to stop to read this. I'm not sure, but I had this out from the library before, but I have not read it. It is about Angela and Richard, two siblings, and they haven't talked in 20 years, but their parents die, or their mother, one of their parents, their last remaining parent die, so they come together with them and their kids to go on a week-long holiday on Wales, and it says they share meals, log fires, card games and wet walks. So that already appeals to me, but it seems that ghosts rise up, the parents that they thought they had, and past lovers, friends, enemies, victims and saviours, and it seems to be they just like discover a family secret and have to come to terms with it, and that is the kind of book I really love. I love books where they delve into family past and find secrets and like try to put it all together, or they find a strange family member that they never knew about and they go and learn all about them. That's a genre in books that I really like. So I thought for 50p, I obviously have showed interest in this before, and now when I'm in the mood to read it, it'll be here rather than having to return it to the library. The next one is certainly an odd one. I'm not gonna lie, the cover did pull me in, but it also sounds quite interesting, and this is a short history of tractors in Ukraine by Marina Lucha. I don't want to butcher that name, and this is not a non-fiction about tractors in Ukraine, but it seems to be about these children. Their father's in his 80s and their mother dies, and then he falls in with this 30-year-old bimbo, as they describe her, Ukrainian woman who they think is a gold digger. So they come together to try and like tell their dad not to marry this woman. But it says that the sisters campaign to oust Valentina, unearths family secrets, uncovers 50 years of Europe's darkest history, and sends them back to roots they'd much rather forget. So again, that kind of whole family history thing that I enjoy, but everyone says that it's really funny. We've got the Daily Express, The Economist, The Spectator, loads of different publications reviewing this on the back, and all saying that it's quite funny as well as endearing and things. So definitely pulled in by such a cool cover and title, but also it sounds like something that I actually would read and enjoy, which is the most important thing. This is probably the one that I am most excited for and will pick up first. This is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonathan. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, whether it's a J or maybe more Scandinavian pronunciation. But it says, you're never too old for an adventure. Sitting quietly in his room at an old people's home, Alan Carlson is waiting for a party he doesn't want to begin. His 100th birthday party, to be precise. The mayor will be there, the press will be there, but as it turns out, Alan will not. Escaping, in his slippers, through his bedroom window and into the flower bed, Alan makes his getaway, and so begins his picturesque and unlikely journey involving criminals, several murders, a suitcase full of cash, and incompetent police. As his escapades unfold, Alan's earlier life is revealed. He played a role behind the scenes of some of the most momentous events in the 20th century. And I love adult books who have like really elderly main characters or really young main characters. So I love like adult books with like 12-year-old protagonists. I think that's like a really cool dynamic that can be created. So I'm really interested about this, and I hope it's just not too like grandparent heart pulling strings, if you know what I mean. But it sounds fun, it sounds funny. Old people escapades is always a good one, and this just seems like some afternoon you'll just tuck into this with a cup of tea and have a good laugh. The next one could use a bit of advice for. This is The Fire Court by Andrew Taylor. He is the author of The Ashes of London, is that what it's called? Which has been on my want to read for ages, but I've never found a copy of it before. Well, I'm sure if you went to Waterstones you could get a copy of it, but the way I obtain books, I have yet to find a copy of it. And I want to know whether this is just a book by the same author about the same subject, or do they tie so closely that I would really have to pick a copy of this up first. If I have to buy this slightly dearer than I would normally buy books. I would now because I have like the second one, so I need to delve in and find out if this is like a second one or just like a side-along book. So if you know, let me know down in the comments. But this is set just after the fires of London. I think the Ashes of London is set during. This is set just after. The Great Fires have obviously ravaged the city. There's now a fire court and they're trying to rebuild. But there's a guy whose father discovers a dead woman where the fire court sits, and then the next day his father is run down, accident or not, and then it's about this guy and like there seems to be a murder on the loose. Which we love a good murder story, but I also love this time period historically. So I'm wanting to read The Ashes of London. You guys can let me know, do I have to read this first? If so, I would either get it on the Kindle or just pay the little bit extra than I would normally pay for a book, because now I was able to get this for 50p. It'll round up. But yeah, a time period that I'm interested in, and it also sounds quite intriguing. The next one is actually a book that has been on my want to read again for ages, and I have yet to find. I'm going to take the sticker off the front because it is an absolutely gorgeous cover, and the sticker is huge. So I want to see if I can get this off, although I probably should have done this before coming on camera. There you go. I normally fill my holes and then de-sticker my books as I'm putting them on the shelves, if you know what I mean. So this is ink. Look at that cover. I didn't take the sticker off the back, but I'll get that off too. And it's just foiled the whole way around. Looks really fun, and is written by Alice Broadway. And there's no blurb or anything on this, but from what I know, it is about a society where all, like, a momentous occasion is tattooed on you. So when you get a new job, when you graduate from school, when you get married, when you have kids, if you had a divorce, if you break your leg, all these things are tattooed in your skin. So your skin is basically like a personal story. But then, like, I'm guessing there's like people who have done like bad things and have regrets, but they're basically branded for life with these mistakes. And I don't know much about like the actual storyline of the book, but I know that's the concept behind it. And when I saw it for 50p, who can go wrong? I kind of love those dystopian books that focus on like a society where you're restricted in some way, rather by like obviously everyone knows like everything about you, where like words are restricted, things like that. I have one more book. I'm not gonna lie, I love this size of book. So this is like a normal paperback. I love that slightly bigger size. I'm not sure what you call it. And I love a floppy book, and this book is incredibly floppy, which is what made me pick it up off the shelf. But then the synopsis was the clincher for buying it. It is called The Pursuit of William Abbey by Claire North. Again, quite a cool cover, almost like a Grecian vase, but it's like a maze. It's kind of cool. And the synopsis is just, I was cursed in Natal in 1884. I stood by as a boy was beaten to death by a mob. His mother cursed us all by truth and by blood, but the shadow took me, and we have been together ever since. That's it. I've never heard of this book. I don't know any more about it. I just picked it up because I love this side of book and I love a floppy book. I find them really comfortable to read. Also, they normally have a slightly bigger text, being a slightly bigger book, with which dyslexia I find easier to read. So, sounds intriguing. This, ink, and The 100-Year-Old Man are probably the three that I'm most excited for and will kind of get to right away. The other ones just sounded intriguing enough that I would want to have them on my shelf for when the day comes that I'm like, yes, I'm really in the mood for that. So that is what we ended up getting. I want to see if I can lift what without wrecking my elbow. That's what we got, £4.50. You wouldn't get half a book in Waterstones for that amount. So in the UK, if you're looking for books, check out your charity shops, specifically Oxfam's. These are all from Oxfam. It is my favourite charity bookshop. And keep following the channel to see if I read these and what I actually think of them once I get to them. I hope you guys are all happy and healthy. And I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.